Welcome back to Football Tac Sensei. I'm Tac Sensei, and today we're diving deep into something that goes far beyond tactical analysis. After 6 years as a professional analyst in Japanese football, working with over 200 players across different levels, I want to share something crucial: the mental characteristics that separate successful professional footballers from those who struggle. This isn't about technique or physical ability. It's about the mindset that creates champions. So grab your notebook, students, because today's lesson might be the most important one yet. The champion's mindset. Let me start with the most critical trait I've observed, and this might surprise you. It's not tactical intelligence, it's not physical prowess, it's being absolutely, ruthlessly competitive in everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. I've worked with players who are now performing at the highest levels, and let me tell you, they can't even lose a simple rock-paper-scissors game to decide who kicks off in training without giving it their absolute all. This isn't just about football. It's about rejecting the concept of good enough in any aspect of life. From my experience analyzing at professional level, players who develop this never-settle mentality in small things inevitably carry it into their professional performance. Body weight management, tactical discipline, even how they organize their kit, everything becomes a competition with themselves. The second crucial trait is what I call selective rule breaking. Now, hear me out. I'm not talking about breaking actual rules. I'm talking about players who can read situations and choose when to ignore social expectations. They have the emotional intelligence to understand team dynamics, but the courage to assert themselves when the moment demands it. In tactical briefings, this type of mindset translates to players who understand their role perfectly, but aren't afraid to improvise when they spot an opportunity. These are your game changers, players who respect the system but aren't slaves to it. The intelligence factor. Here's something that catches my attention as an analyst. The level of tactical intelligence required in modern football has skyrocketed. Gone are the days when a traditional number 10 could just focus on creativity without defensive responsibilities. Today's game demands what I call multi-dimensional intelligence. This isn't just about understanding your position. It's about communication skills that work under pressure, the ability to process complex tactical instructions, and most importantly, the capacity to learn and adapt quickly. When preparing scouting reports, we look for players who demonstrate learning agility. A player might have incredible pace, but if they can't develop their tactical understanding or communication skills, they hit a ceiling fast. I've seen talented athletes plateau because they couldn't evolve beyond their physical gifts. The most successful players I've analyzed treat their bodies like precision instruments. They know every muscle group, understand their optimal playing weight, and can articulate exactly how different training affects their performance. This body awareness isn't vanity, it's professional intelligence. Family values and character. Something that might surprise international viewers, the most successful Japanese players I've worked with are incredibly family-oriented. This isn't coincidence. Players who value family relationships typically learned these values from parents who supported their football dreams unconditionally. This creates a cycle of emotional stability and grounded perspective that serves them well under professional pressure. They understand loyalty, they handle success with humility, and they maintain perspective during difficult periods. Now, let me share what I've learned about players who struggle, and this is crucial for scouts and coaches to recognize early on. The biggest red flag? Poor communication skills combined with negative attitude during adversity. In Japanese football, we see this pattern repeatedly. These players blame external factors, the coach's system, teammates' mistakes, even the weather, instead of looking inward for solutions. I've seen technically gifted players fail because they couldn't handle being dropped from the starting 11. Instead of using it as motivation, they become toxic influences in training. Professional football involves constant competition for positions. Players who can't handle this psychologically don't last. Another pattern I've noticed, players who waste their free time. Professional training typically finishes by noon, leaving significant time for self-improvement. The players who succeed use this time for additional fitness work, language study, or tactical analysis. Those who simply consume entertainment without purpose tend to plateau. There's also what I call the one-dimensional trap. I've worked with players who could only play in one style. For example, a winger who could only run straight down the line but couldn't cut inside, track back defensively, or adapt to different tactical systems. In modern football, especially with the tactical flexibility required, these players find themselves limited to very specific team setups. They might survive in a counter-attacking team that uses wingbacks, but they'll struggle in a possession-based system that demands positional flexibility. The communication reality. Here's something I experienced directly. Even in training situations like calling offsides or throw-ins, successful players are intensely focused on every decision. They'll argue passionately about a ball that went out of bounds in a practice match. Some might see this as excessive, but from an analyst perspective, this intensity in small moments reflects their competitive standards. They're not just practicing football, they're practicing the mentality of never accepting defeat in any form. Communication extends beyond just talking. The players who succeed understand how to build relationships across all levels, with younger players, peers, and senior figures. I've noticed that successful players are generous with teammates, not just financially, but with their time and knowledge. This investment in relationships often pays dividends later in their careers through transfer opportunities and post-playing career prospects. Speaking of detailed analysis, if you're interested in getting your own footage broken down with this same professional approach I use in my analyst work, I do offer personal analysis services. Check the link in the description for comprehensive player evaluations and tactical breakdowns. What fascinates me most after analyzing hundreds of players is how normal they are off the pitch. They watch YouTube, laugh at jokes, worry about everyday things just like anyone else. The difference is in those specific mental parameters we discussed. They're absolutely maxed out in competitiveness, discipline, and growth mindset. I'm curious about your experiences. What mental traits have you noticed in the most successful people around you? How do they handle pressure differently? These mental characteristics aren't just for professional footballers, they're blueprints for excellence in any field. Next week, we're diving back into tactical analysis with a fascinating case study of positional flexibility in modern Japanese football. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, and let me know in the comments which of these mental traits you think is most important for player development. What patterns have you noticed in successful players you've observed? Until next time, keep analyzing, keep learning, and remember, in football, as in life, the details matter.